Hey, what's happening, peeps? What's going on? This is Carlton Lewis, aka Mellow Melanin, aka Mega Businessman, coming to you live and direct from just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, doing a Facebook Live. It's been a minute since I've done one, and this video is also going to be posted on YouTube. So if you watch it from YouTube, what's happening? Today, I wanted to talk about something that I feel like it's crucial to my business, and it's crucial to a lot of people's business. I mean, you can do business without doing this, but the type of business that I'm doing creative real estate, and you need to be able to use the phone to do this. And it's kind of interesting because I put myself in a position where I force myself to have to learn this. And you know, a lot of stuff is happening right now. I was supposed to go to Vegas last week to attend a real estate summit sponsored by Ron LeGrand, who is my real estate mentor. And that had to be canceled because of the coronavirus. So they decided to do a virtual real estate summit, and that was great. You know, it's 3 days of intense learning from like 9 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon, and I got a lot of value from that. So I would encourage anybody to, especially now in this time, to make sure that you are learning something. You know, don't just keep watching TV, keep watching the news, how many, you know, all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus and all of that. Don't keep watching that stuff. You know, get the information that pertains to you and move on, seriously, because it'll create a whole cycle of fear. And you know, that's what we're going to talk about right now, like overcoming fear, not necessarily due to coronavirus, but as far as your business is concerned, in mastering the phone. All right. So this couple, the Wolf couple, Brian and Lynette, they were doing a presentation during the virtual real estate summit last week. And what was really, really cool about what they were talking about, the whole session was about mastering the phone. And, you know, for one, I raised my hand because, you know, getting into this business, the way I know how to do it, you know, I bought houses before, you know, things were different. And then I got into a point, and I'll tell you guys one of my mistakes. One of my mistakes was, and I didn't even know that I was doing this. And, you know, we're always programming our mind, always, you know, we're always inputting things in our mind, and our self-talk, you know, what we say about ourselves to ourselves can boost us up or tear us down. And I had a lot of negative self-talk. And because I had this negative self-talk, you know, I would always say things like, well, I'd rather somebody else make the phone calls. I don't like making phone calls. You know, I'm better in person than I am on the phone. You know, and I just kept, you know, making all these statements, not realizing that I was negatively programming myself for failure, you know. And so whatever, and I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of I've done a lot of entrepreneurial things. Yes, I know that I face to face, I'm great. You know, I don't have a problem meeting anybody, but it was something about picking up the phone, you know, and I had to track it down. You know, I had to track it down. So I started, you know, listening to things about salespeople. You know, I listened to a lot of Darren Hardy. I listened to a lot of Brian Tracy. I bought Brian Tracy's course on the psychology of selling. And this is one of the things that really, really kicked it off for me. If you don't have that book, if you're into sales, if you're in any kind of business, really, you really need to understand sales, because without sales, your business is not happening. Seriously, that is the fuel for your business. And so Brian Tracy, he talked about self-talk, you know, having positive self-talk, and the top salespeople have positive self-talk. And so, you know, I went and found a book on self-talk, you know, and so it's like the things that you need, they're out here. So there's no excuse for not getting the things that you need. You know what I'm saying? Because the information is out there. Or I should say, there's no excuse for not getting the information, because the information is out there. And so I went and got this book, right? So I see the hearts up there. I see the thumbs up. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I went and got this book and I read it, and I was thinking like, man, I already know how to do affirmations. I've been doing affirmations since I was a teenager. You know what I mean? I know how to do visual, but it's not even about all of that. It's about the stuff that we're saying unconsciously. And unconsciously, I kept saying things, well, I don't like to make phone calls. And guess what would happen when I got into a point where I needed to make phone calls? And that was with anybody. I would have this big nervous feeling, you know what I mean? And that's something I learned from Darren Hardy, is that my robot brain, my subconscious was shutting my body down and putting me in a fear mode, right? Because that's what our our brain, our natural brain is supposed to do for us. The ego part of our brain, it's supposed to keep us safe. All right. And so trust me, I'm going to get to these 3 keys in just a moment. So the people that are watching, I appreciate you. These 3 keys. And I knew I had to get over this fear of the phone. I had to identify it first. And one of the things I learned from Brian Tracy, in addition to doing the positive self-talk that the salespeople do, is that he said there are 2 main fears when it comes to selling. And one is the fear of failure on the buyer's part. The person that you're talking to, they have a fear of loss. They don't want to lose anything. And then the other key fear on the salesperson's part was the fear of rejection, is the fear of rejection. And so that was me. I was like, I'm afraid of being rejected, because I'll be honest with you guys. I've had houses in the past. I've had several houses in the past that I bought, using the techniques that I learned, but I lost them. Why did I lose them? Because of immaturity, number 1, trying to do too many things at one time, just not really treating my business like a business. I was around, doing music business, right? So I'd be out, because I wanted to be a hip hop artist, and I achieved that. Don't get me wrong, I achieved that. At the same time, I was also, looking at building a real estate empire. So I got some houses, put some houses under contract, was living in a house that I bought using the real estate techniques. And, I really didn't understand cash flow. So I went back to school. I went to college, y'all, to really learn how to operate a business. I got that down pat now. So, you always have to look at, for me, I don't want to be the bottleneck in my business. I don't want to be the bottleneck. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a true 100% entrepreneur. Even in this time of crisis, if I need to, I'll go out and hop in the car and make some food deliveries. Okay. So I'm not to the point to where I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm not that type of person. And so thankfully, I had a chance encounter with someone back in October, and this guy was a real estate broker. He was my age. And, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm over here trying to do some other things, and I'm trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to do this. And I'm not still 100% focused. Some of you guys know me from doing health and wellness, or you may know me from doing Forex. You know what I'm saying? So, you may know me from those things, and all those things, I still like all of those things, but what I know, and I know that I know that I know, is real estate, and nobody can take that from me. So let's get into these 3 keys to mastering the phone, because they're very, very important. It doesn't matter really what business you're in. I'm going to definitely, if you stick with me, the number 3 was an aha moment for me that has definitely changed everything. Okay. So, and I got this little short list from the Wolf couple, Brian and Lynette, and I got my notes here on my tablet. So I don't want you guys to think like, oh, Carlton came up with all of this. I like to give credit where credit is due. And, the Wolf couple are just amazing. It's an amazing couple. And so the first thing is education. You gotta get education. I don't care what business you're in, what you're doing, whatever you're doing, you need to get education, right? And the key components to the education are scripts, and the scripts help you build confidence, right? So yeah, I know about scripts, and I had to think about, I would go back, like a couple of days ago, I went back and I looked at, why was I able to be successful being a salesperson when I was in my teens, early 20s, as I used to sell shoes, y'all. I used to be a shoe salesman for the Finish Line. And I was actually one of the top salespeople there. But one of the things that they gave us were scripts. And so I would go, I memorized my scripts. And when people came in, if they had objections or any of that stuff, I already knew what to say. Okay, knowing what to say is half the battle. And then the problem is that I'm learning too from this Mastering the Phone course, because I actually did purchase a course on mastering the phone. The problem is a lot of times, especially with this, we'll get uneasy about communicating with people and picking up the phone because we don't know what to say. What if you had the words that work, and you knew what to say, and you knew what your goal was for being on the phone? And in real estate, doing the creative financing way I'm talking about doing, you only need to answer 3 questions. You need 3 questions answered, when you get off the phone. That is going to help you determine if you're going to go see the house. Even when I was doing the business before, I really didn't have all of this information like I had it now, and it just makes sense. So the scripts, number 1 is education. Get educated on scripts, and the scripts help you build confidence. Number 2 is experience. You got to do it. And I'm going to tell you 2 key things that I've learned probably within the last year and a half. And yeah, I'm going to say within the last year and a half. There's this book called The 5-Second Rule. I think the lady's name is Mel Robbins, who wrote this book. You may want to take this book down. Mel Robbins. It's called The 5-Second Rule. And so instead of just overthinking, and Grant Cardone says fear is a great indicator. Instead of just overthinking, about picking up the phone, what am I going to say? What am I going to count it down? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, and just pick up the phone and just make the phone call, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. You got to do it 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Count it down. And another good technique, right, is so once you've counted down, the thing you have to remember, and I learned this from Darren Hardy a few weeks ago, right? Because Darren Hardy does a morning motivational success talk, right? And you should definitely subscribe to that if you're serious about, being more successful, being more productive. Darren is he's the man. I can't say enough about him. Now, he said he calls his thing the 20-second rule. So within that first 20 seconds, right? So I know that if I can count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bam, hit the call button on the phone, right? Dial the phone number, I hit the call button. All I know is once I get into the first 20 seconds of that phone call, then the rest of the call is pretty much going to be easy. The little butterflies are gone. I'm not even thinking about the butterflies anymore. And then don't forget, step 1, I have my scripts. So I'm going to stick to the script. Problem is, we're nervous. We don't want to make the phone call, and we don't have a script. All that compounds to just disaster. And if you continue to negatively reinforce your mind, like, oh, I don't. Okay, I'm back. I forgot, right? So this is something I did a little while ago. Welcome back. This video, it clunked out, right? It clunked out, and I'll tell you what happened. I have a timer on my phone that keeps me from being on apps too long, and Facebook was one of them, because sometimes I spend too much time on Facebook, and so I have to remember to turn that timer thing off, right? So back to the 3 keys to mastering the phone. All right, back to the 3 keys. The first key was education. We talked about scripts and how they build confidence. The second one was experience. We're talking about jumping in using the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins and the 20-second rule by Darren Hardy. All right. And so the third rule, right? Not the third rule, but the third key. And this is the one that really, and it seems like it's so simple. And I kind of heard it before, but I didn't hear it like this, right? So the Wolf couple, who I referenced in the first part of the video, they talked about role control, right? So stepping into a role like an actor. So I'll give you an example. I don't know if you guys out there saw the movie Batman where Heath Ledger, he played the Joker. You know, he was totally in character. He was totally believable. And the best actors are totally in character. They don't have to be like that all the time or all their life, but for that particular role, they are 100% committed to that role and whatever it takes to get that role done. All right. And so the role control, that was my aha moment. And so they had us fill out a form, and I'll pull out the form for you real quick. I know you can't really see it. Maybe you can. Yeah, it's a role control form, right? I don't know if it's going to get clearer or what. There we go. It's a role control form. And so in this role control form, you know, it has things like role definition chart. For put your name at the top. I put Carlton Lewis. The role name is successful real estate investor me. Your role could be whatever, but for me, it's being a successful real estate investor. Got that. Boom. And this role is needed for the task of doing closing calls and deal meetings. And the main thing where the money is made is on the closing calls, where you're actually talking to the people, right? So, you know, and my goal, he has the goals down here. What's the goals of this role? And my goal is to buy 2 to 4 houses a month, right? And it has triggers, traits, skill sets, scheduling, applicable experiences, you know, and I think about when I bought my first house. You know, I was supremely confident when I bought my first house. You know, the gentleman, you know, I had a sign on my car and it said, "We buy houses," in the phone number. It's one of those magnetic signs, right? People think those things are hokey, but you know, that sign made me money. So, you know, the guy pulled me over and said, "Hey, you buy houses?" I said, "Yes." "Do you have one for sale?" He said, "Yes." And, you know, I went and looked at the house, and the same day I looked at the house, you know, I bought the house. He deeded me the house. Now, would I do that same technique today? Nah, I probably wouldn't do it like that. I would do something different. A couple of different other things down here. Like, I went on tour once with the Blastmaster KRS-One, the hip hop legend, right? And so my gut instinct was like, go ask him for his phone number so you can talk to him, because I already had met him. And so I was trying to, you know, see how I could build a relationship with him. And I got out of my own skin, and I just went and asked him for his phone number. And that turned into a tour, a 2-week tour out in California. You know what I mean? So these are real stories. These things happen because of, you know, being confident, which is one of the traits of being a successful real estate investor, right? And so I already told you about the being the top salesperson at the finish line. You know, it's roles. And, you know, again, the 3 things: education, experience, role control. Education, experience, role control. And, you know, I'm going to be really, I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to telling you guys more. Like I said, I don't do Facebook a lot, but now I'm going to do Facebook a lot because I understand, you know, this is where I need to be. You know, this is a great medium for marketing and for letting people know what it is that you do, you know, and to teach people, because some people need to know this. Like, I wish I had known, you know, how to master the phone 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? 20 years ago when I was doing music, you know, and because I would always push it over to somebody else. I would always say, "Hey, you make the phone calls, and when we get to the meeting, I'll do all the talking at the meeting," because I knew I was better face to face. But anything could be learned. You know, if it's a skill, and this is a master skill, the phone, mastering the phone, it's a master skill. Anything can be learned, all right? And I'm telling you guys, you master this skill, don't shrink away from it. It will pay you handsomely. Seriously. And we're not talking about just basic communication skills, just knowing what to say when you get on the phone. All right. So, I'm glad you guys tuned in. You know, if you want to get more information about what I'm doing and how, you know, some of the club I'm affiliated with a gold club. It's Ron LeGrand's Gold Club. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time telling you about that, because that's not really why I came on. The main thing I wanted to talk about was mastering the phone, because something else that I've learned, and I learned this through being in network marketing, you know, learn it, do it, teach it, invest, learn, teach. You know, you have different people that say things like that. You know, Ray Higdon says invest, learn, teach. So I invested, you know, I invested my time, I invested my money. I learned something. I started doing this stuff, right? I'm doing this stuff. Like I called a man yesterday and I'm telling you guys, I was super nervous about calling this guy. And I was like, this is going to be the guy that I call first. This guy had a $2 million house. I called him first. Now, you know, he didn't, our terms didn't link up, and that's okay. But the fact is that I made the call. I had these things that I was just telling you guys, these 3 things. The education, I had my scripts out. I was confident. The scripts made me confident. I did my 5-second rule. I did my 20-second rule for experience. And then I had my role control. I had my networker mind on. You know, I had my real estate investor mind on. And I felt good about that call. One other tip, and I'm going to leave it off at this, was that he said, record your call. They said, record the call, you know, and recording calls, you know, I don't know if it's legal where you are, but I'm not going to use it to blackmail anybody or anything crazy like that, right? I just want to get better. You know, that's what top athletes do. Not only do they practice, but they go and look at the tape, right? They go and look at game tapes and they see where they can be better. This is no different. This is no different. You need to look at how you are talking to people. Listen to it. You know, listen to how you sound. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to go over some mistakes. You know what I'm saying? The typical mistakes that people do when they're calling people. And I hope that'll help out a whole lot of people because, like I said, this has helped me out a whole lot. And I want to make sure I say to you guys, I am looking for houses to buy in Metro Atlanta. If you know someone that's selling a house, that needs to sell a house, please don't hesitate to contact me. And I'm also going to be starting a new Facebook fan page with all of that stuff on it. People can check me out at Omni buys houses. And I'll put that in the comments somewhere for anybody that needs to pass that information on. All right. So once again, this has been Carlton Lewis, aka Mega Businessman, aka Mellow Melanin, coming to you live and direct from Smyrna, Georgia. And have a great day. Peace.